The other day whilst I was out grocery shopping with the missus. Anyway, I started wondering if I could do a visual comparison of the various Evo models to see what visually the incremental changes looked like in an Excel table. I was going to compare Evo 1. This was the grandpapa of the bunch against the Evo 6, Evo 9, and Evo 10. These Evos were chosen randomly. Each model was going to be measured against the following criteria: turbo size, horsepower, torque, boost pressure, maximum RPM, engine displacement, compression ratio, chassis weight, engine type, transmission type, brakes type, aerodynamics, and other features. That is AYC option. All Evos came out of the box with turbos manufactured by Greedy Turbos. This is the best explanation for a turbo by this dude.
A turbo,
yes.
Exhaust gases,
yes.
Go into the turbocharger and spin it.
Yes.
Witchcraft happens, and you go faster.
The Evo 1 came with a Greedy turbo. The size of the turbo was TD049B and TD05H16G. The very early ones had TD049B from the Mitsubishi Galant VR4, Y-waist turbo parts you already have laying around. The later models were then changed to TD05H16G, I think it may have been TD0516G, and later switched to TD05H16G high-flow turbo. So, the H in the part number was a high-flow turbo, as shown in my beautiful illustration. Okay, I'm on a shoestring budget and this is no arts channel. Some turbos were double-ported too. When Mitsubishi saw the success of the TD05H16G, they equipped the Evo 6 with TD05H16G. Some enthusiasts completely reconstructed their turbo and replaced the 16G with an 18G. The basics of a turbo: you have the compressor wheel, or cold side, and then there is the turbine wheel hot side. By increasing the cold side compressor, your boost pressure goes up. This is delicate work not for a novice because there are other components to consider. A larger compressor wheels have more mass, and require more inertia to spin, thus they take a bit longer to reach the same speeds. You see this as more lag. Also, with all other components being the same, a larger compressor is biting more air per rotation, and thus is doing more work. This also causes some additional lag. The compressor wheel also comes in all manner of elaborately designed shapes, trying to cut through the air as cleanly as possible. What beauties! If the Predator ever become a ninja, those would be his throwing Death Stars. As we go down the list, you soon see some more letters and numbers after the G. These represent various designs boosting you into the next corner. The Evo 9 has a TD05HR16G69T. The Evo 10 is packing a massive TD05H152G612T. Next, we move on to the BHP column. You can already see some drastic changes in horsepower. The sudden jump from 244 to 440 is an engineering marvel. Guys, don't forget these are stock numbers. This is why I like visual representation. The funny thing is, I thought Japanese manufacturers back then had a gentleman's agreement that all cars would be built to 221 horsepower. These figures were only true if you kept to the fuel octane requirement. The rule of thumb for JDM cars is do not go cheap when it comes to fuel, always go high octane. Next is the torque column. This is pretty much what you would expect. I knew it'd be very close to the BHP. They go hand in hand like Bonnie and Clyde. Next, everybody's favorite feeling is boost or boost. Before you know it, it's giving you that warp speed feeling. The interesting thing is the Evo 10. Boost pressure surprised me. I suppose with that SAC system and the electronic wizardly, you don't need much to go warping into space. Let's look at the max RPM column. All variants seem to top out at 7K, but guys, am I right in my maths? That can't be right. This engine is doing 117 revs per second. Drop me a comment. Mind blown. In the engine displacement column, this started at 2 liters. The only thing that changed was the engine was redesigned on some models. Next is compression ratio. No guys, stay with me. Not that kind of compression. This is what I would expect with high power engines, a compression ratio of 10:1. And lower power is normally around 8:1. So no surprises here. Let's look at the chassis weight column. These weight figures are not bad when compared to modern cars. But for track use, I think I'll choose the Evo 6. Not too light, and not too heavy. Just right. I hope the 3 bears won't be driving. What do you think? Next is engine type, and transmission type. No shock factors here, we all knew this. Although I think some Evo 6 came with auto as an option in some countries. The brakes type column, and aerodynamics. Looks like the aerodynamics improved as the years went on, and the braking power stopped becoming an extra, and was sold as part of the basic package. And finally, the other features column. I know there are countless things I could have added, but let us keep it simple. Is an Evo without the all-wheel drive system and the AYC? And there you have it.
Sometimes my genius, it generates gravity.
Now let's look at some other Evo variants. Grab a cup of coffee. You set? Let's go. What are the differences between the iconic Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution models, the GSR and RS specifically? GSR stands for gearbox, standard ratio. It refers specifically to the type of manual transmission equipped in certain Evo sports sedan models. The full meaning behind GSR, G is gearbox, S is standard, and R is ratio. So the GSR refers to the standard transmission offering that was tuned more for everyday driving and comfort. Key facts about the Evo GSR gearbox. Uses a 5-speed manual transmission. Gear ratios are optimized for smoother and quieter everyday driving. Provides maximum fuel efficiency during normal driving. The shifts are slightly slower than the alternative RS gearbox. Prioritizes refinement over extreme performance. And comes paired with other luxury features like electric windows, powered mirrors, etc. In summary, GSR is gearbox, standard ratio, referring specifically to the more everyday-focused 5-speed manual transmission in certain Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution models. It prioritizes smoothness and refinement over all-out track performance. These rally rockets have some serious power under the hood. We're talking 0 to 60 sprints that would smoke most supercars, my friends. But the RS is the stripped-down speed demon of the two. We're talking bare-bones race machine. No luxury frills like climate control or even rear wipers on this bad boy. The RS tears up the track with quicker steering and closer gear ratios, shaving fractions of seconds off those lightning 0 to 60 times. And get this, the RS is 80 to 115 kilograms lighter than the GSR. Shedding weight is the name of the game for rally cars. The RS ditches sound deadening, fancy seats, and even fog lamps to cut every possible pound. Now that's a dedication to speed. This white-knuckle ride isn't for the faint of heart though. But wait, the evolution story doesn't end there. Strap in as I speed through some other iconic Evo variants, or unicorns. I looked around the interweb to see if I could spot one of these unicorns. And ladies and gentlemen, you're in for a treat. Legends have it. Back in the day before Mitsubishi brought the Evo to the UK, a little tuner shop called Rally Art UK was supplying the UK's need for speed. Gearheads know them as Xtreme, based in Dudley, and they were the OG Evo importers for the British Isles. These crazy cats were churning out some truly psychotic special edition Evos in small batches. We're talking the legendary Evo 6 Xtreme, the RS Sprint hippity-hopping to 320 horses, the torque beasting 450, and the almighty 7 Xtreme S, packing nearly 400 pounds-feet of twist. Quick disclaimer, the following have no association with the channel, nor is this a product advertisement. Okay, that's the legal stuff. In 2023, iconic auctioneer in the UK sold one for £60,000 of the king's money, built exclusively for the UK market, and in incredibly small numbers. It's believed that just 4 RS 450 Xtremes were ever built, with just 3 remaining. They were prepared by Rally Art before their incorporation into the main Mitsubishi fold, essentially operating as a very well-known Skunk Works division, taking the fight to Subaru's ProDrive. Unlike later Evos, where the number following FQ denoted the horsepower of the vehicle, the 450 and RS 450 denotes the Newton-meter of torque pushed out by the 2-liter turbocharged 4G63 engine with 380 bhp. This car's Rally Art prepared engine produces around 438 bhp and 412 pounds-foot of torque, laid on the tarmac via the 4-wheel drive system, and no longer fitted with the anti-yaw control, AYC, and anti-lock brakes as weight-saving measures. Guys, don't sleep on the Xtreme Zero Fighter either. Yes, that's right, an Evo named Zero Fighter. What's the deal with that, I hear you say? Well, let's time travel to a time when men were less civilized to each other, and they wore jock straps and the occasional suspenders with sandals. During this time, the legendary legend of the Mitsubishi A6M0 fighter plane was born. Now I know what you're thinking. Fighter plane history? Yawn. But trust me, this bad boy was no snooze fest. When it first arrived on the scene in 1940, the Zero was the top gun of the skies and gave Allied pilots absolute fits. If you are new to the channel, it takes 0 to 6 seconds to subscribe. Be a hero and pause the video now and subscribe. Okay, you're back. Thank you. Just listen to these specs. The Zero had outstanding maneuverability thanks to its lightweight construction and monster 2550 horsepower engine. We're talking hairpin turns and loop-de-loops that left bulky American planes in the dust.
To you, radial engine. Perfect circle broken only by oil cooler. Low wing. Cockpit canopy sits on cigar-shaped fuselage. Front nose. Stubby spinner. Oil cooler and air scoop. Fuselage tapering the point in rear. Closeness of wings to nose. Radial engine. Canopy close to nose. Tail pointed and curving out away from nose. Remember, on your recognition of the Zero, may depend your life. Know it, so you can destroy it. This is the Japanese Zero.
And get this, the Zero's range was incredible. Over 2,000 miles. Japanese pilots were flying sorties from aircraft carriers while Allied planes were puttering out of gas. An unfair advantage? You betcha. In the early days of World War II, the Zero was king over the Pacific, achieving an insane 12-1 kill ratio against Allied aircraft. But the Allies eventually adapted with new tactics like the Thatch Weave, and better fighters like the Hellcat and Corsair entered the fray. By mid-war, the playing field had leveled as Allied pilots learned the Zero's weaknesses. Its lack of armor and self-sealing tanks proved fatal against the new hard-hitting Allied planes. By 1945, Zero's reign of terror was over. But for a bright shining moment, this little fighter with big range and moves ran rampant across the Pacific skies, leaving twisted wreckage in its wake. The Zero tuned up Allied pilots the hard way and left an indelible legacy as a genuinely world-beating warplane. So, next time you think World War II fighter history is a snore, remember the tiny terror that was the legendary Zero, so it's only fitting that Xtreme, A.K.A. Rally Art named this beast as Zero Fighter. This fine example was also sold 2 years ago for £31,000 by Collecting Cars. No association with the channel, nor is this a product advertisement. This was a bargain. The standard Zero Fighter was pumped up to a head-spinning 340 horses. Don't forget these were made in 1999 and back then that horsepower was the stuff of dreams. Lastly, the FQ models offer extra juice for heavy foots looking to smoke some tires. Check out my other video, Evolution Brilliance, where I dive into the FQ and MR. In conclusion, Rally Art was creating absolute monsters in modest numbers before official UK cars were even a thing. They cemented their status as the authority on brute force Evos for enthusiasts craving custom-tailored rally rockets. These were the glory days of the UK tuner scene when shops like Rally Art could let their creativity run wild. Their outrageous creations left a permanent imprint on Evo culture. So, next time you see a tricked-out GSR or an RS Evo ripping it up, tip your cap to the OGs. Rally Art, Xtreme, those crazy cats started it all. Please check out my other videos on your screen now.